Welcome to Momentum, a motorsports podcast powered by High Gear Success. I'm your host, Heather Wilson Schiltz. Here we share the stories and strategies that keep the world of motorsports moving forward. And if you're into ATV Motocross, then you'll definitely be pumped to hear from my next guest. Chad Wienen is an 8-time AMA Pro Motocross national champion who's racked up 67 career wins and countless podiums during his 22-year professional career. Plus, he's a 6-time member of the AMA U.S. ATV Motocross team at Quadcross of Nations, and although he's officially retired from racing this year, he plans to stay involved in the sport. So, thanks for joining me.
Yeah, thanks, Heather.
So, obviously, you announced your retirement, you ended the ATV Motocross season, and then you went to Quadcross of Nations. So, does this mark the official retirement?
Yeah, this is the official one. It definitely felt more like official at the final round of AMA Pro ATV Motocross, especially like winning that last round. Like that was the ultimate like goodbye. And I was like, okay, like I'm complete, but I still have like the nations to do with the team. So yeah, it definitely feel complete now.
I'm sure that a lot went into that decision to step away from professional racing, but throughout all of those years, what did it take for you to stay competitive at such a high level? That is a lot of years of racing at a very high level.
Yeah, I mean, I think you actually just get a taste of it, and it's hard to, not have that winning taste in your mouth. And there's no better feeling than, ending the season on a championship and the highs of that. But yeah, I just made it. It's a big part of my life, and it has been for half my life, so it's awesome, great sport to be a part of, and the people that I've met along the way, it's been hopefully be some lifelong friends there.
Yeah, absolutely. You have had obviously a lot of great years, a lot of great moments, but there's probably been some injuries mixed in there as well. So, how did you keep your motivation alive through those injuries and just like the constant grind of needing to be training and being at the races all the time?
Yeah, it's almost like you're programmed that way. You get knocked down, and I just the way I've been brought up with my parents, they taught me some good lessons while I was younger. And if you want something bad enough, you got to fight for it, and the between the good and the bad. And I think that really helped propel me, through those bad times, and having good people behind me that are filling me with good motivational words and keep me pushing forward. And I've always been a kind of a person that's really self-driven too, that I think that really helps, where like if I'm mind on something, there's not gonna be many things that are gonna stop me. So
Yeah, absolutely. Do you have a favorite track that sticks out in your mind throughout the years?
yeah, like I mean, my all-time favorite is Redbud. We haven't raced there for a couple years now, but that's always been my favorite stop. It's local here in the Midwest where I'm from in Illinois. And just when you pull into that track that it's a legendary track. And every time we go there, it just gives you that feeling of like you're at the best place. So it's a memorable one.
So, when you're on the track, you've obviously raced against a lot of tough competitors throughout the years, and that's changed over the years as well. But who do you feel like has pushed you the hardest throughout the years?
Um, I would say like early on, like John Natale was one of my big competitors back then. And he was at the best part of his career when I kind of stepped into the pro ranks. And we started battling right away. And he had that he just had the years under his belt where I was still young and not really thinking about much, just reacting with the throttle. And he taught me a lot of things that way. And then getting into my latter part of my career, with Joel Hetrick, he's been an amazingly fast rider, and that pushed me to be a faster and stronger rider myself. So it's just one of those things where there's a lot of people along the way that have really done that for me.
Do you feel like being mentally prepared or physically prepared for race day is more important, or is there balance to be found there?
Yeah, there's a balance. I mean, I'm a strong believer of, putting the work in during the week. It makes your race day a lot easier. And when things go to plan that way, there's there's nothing better, like when you go to a race and it's easier than your practice days, and that preparation that a lot of people don't see behind the scenes is that's where it's all made right there.
I think that's the difference too between being a professional athlete and maybe a weekend warrior or an amateur athlete is they show up and they want to do their best on race day, but they may not have put the preparation in ahead of time. Even things like hydration and eating the right stuff. They show up on race day and they're just pounding water or electrolytes, but it's a little too late at that point, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you gotta be ahead of the game on that point, and you gotta trial and error your stuff, because if you're not doing the same things during the week, and then you're all of a sudden doing them during the weekend, it might go against you, just like what you said.
Talk about kind of your fitness and nutrition and recovery and how it's helped kind of keep you at that championship level. Kind of what are your go tos in that regard?
I mean, it's like a revolving door. It changes a lot, and I'm a strong believer that your body, it gets used to things. So it's you got to know when to change and when to like adjust things, because I've been on like different like eating plans and stuff like that, and eating different things, and it actually, like, when you first get on it, it's like you're supercharged, and then you start to plateau. So you got to be like well aware of, like, when you're doing those things, on when to change. But like my go-to is like, leading up to the weekend, getting your carbs that you need, and hydrating, of course, and just making sure that you're getting the rest that you need. And I believe that you get those three things, that like you're well on the right track to being prepared for, what you're going to put your body through throughout the weekend.
You've had a 22-year professional career, but you obviously have been racing even longer than that. Have you seen the ATV technology change throughout that time?
Oh, certainly. Like, the first couple of years, like, we're on, carbureted machines, and then eventually, a couple of years later, like 2007, like we started to get fuel injected, and then seeing the progression of the fuel injection over, the last, 10, 15, 20 years is pretty incredible. Just what we can do with our electronics and our mapping, and it actually makes us go faster. Like, ultimately, because you're not thinking about, like, is my carburetor gonna bog up off of one of the jumps and jump faces, and you gain that confidence in your machine. So it's definitely like it drives you to go a lot faster on track.
And I think I've heard you're a guy that kind of likes to work on your own machine more than
Mhm.
maybe some riders.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, in my early part of my pro career, I didn't have a ton of money, so I had to learn to work on my machine myself, and I had a lot of good people around me, that, like, mechanics wise, that taught me a lot of like really good things to know on the machine, and I learned how to rebuild my engines, build machines, started working on shocks and stuff like that. So it was like, I just first started doing that to save money, and then it actually, I started to take a real liking to it. So I, brought that on to my pro career. Even to today, I build all my own machines. I build the engines. I have basically an engine builder that built, like, cuts the heads, puts the valves, cuts the valves in. But like, I'm doing all the assembly with that, and at the end of the day, that it's more on your shoulders, and you're not depending on somebody that might take an early day on Friday and shortcut some things. But so it's a good thing, but it's also a bad thing, because how much time it takes to do all those things. It takes away from maybe training, and takes away from time away from the family too. But it's been my recipe of success.
I think it also probably gives you an advantage too, because if an athlete isn't very mechanical and they're trying to convey what they're feeling to their mechanic, they may
Mhm.
not always be able to like accurately describe what's going on or what needs to happen. And you just kind of can feel it and then know what you need to change and figure it out.
Yeah, yeah, certainly. It's definitely one of those things where you you're able to react and feel, and you don't have to tell anybody. I already know what I'm feeling, and I know what it takes to get what I want out of the machine. So it's definitely that, and then you're not getting lost with with your mechanic or something like that, and trying to translate. what needs to be done.
Right. So we've talked about kind of the ATVs changing over time, but how have the tracks changed over time? Do you feel like the jumps have gotten bigger, the speeds have gotten faster? How has that
Yeah.
impacted your career?
Yeah. I mean, I think like right now, like I almost feel like we're starting to outgrow the tracks a little bit, being like how fast the machines are going. The jumps are, I mean, the jumps are still big, but like we're not having to stretch them out as quite as much. And I see tracks like making adjustments, but I think the biggest thing is like the track lanes, like how long some of the track lanes are and the speeds that we're carrying around the track, especially being like open wheel racing it on the dirt is like it's pretty wild how fast the riders are going around the track nowadays. And it's one of those things too. You start going that fast and you have crashes. It doesn't always end up well. And with I had a crash 2024 first round of the year. I had an accident with a we were at the opening round of the year. I had an accident there, and I actually fractured my T6 and T7 in my neck. So it was season-ending injury. But it's just one of those things that it's motorsports and it's a dangerous sport. But at the end of the day, honestly, I like every time I put my helmet on, I never think about like what could happen. So it's just you keep that drive in you, and you don't think about those things until you're in that moment.
Just represented the United States as part of the AMA US ATV Motocross team. I feel like these titles of these series are so long. It's like such a
Yeah,
mouthful to say.
yeah.
But you represented the US at Quadcross of Nations, where the team has won 6 titles and took runner up this year. And you
Mhm.
guys encountered terrain in the Netherlands that is not very typical here in the US. So when you first rolled up to the track, what was your gut reaction?
Honestly, like my gut reaction was fine because the track was smooth, it was untouched, so it looked perfect, honestly. And once machines got on track, the it started to deteriorate very fast, and I mean, it was an eye opener because I just feel like we could. It's almost naive in a way because we felt like we could manipulate the machine what we need to with what we got. And I felt like for us, for me to ride my best, like I needed some major adjustments to my machine to make it, go around that track the way that I wanted to. And we didn't necessarily have that on hand for us to do. But I think if I were probably, back in my mid 30s, like 35, I could probably just deal with it, and just be okay. But now I'm 40 years old. I think about a lot. I think about the short end more than just going out there and pounding laps. So I make sure that I come home safe more often than just hang it out. So it's just one of those things. I think the team did great, the riders did great, and just knowing what we were up against, and it was no joke. So we know that the track there it's another beast. It's a for us it's the 31st rider, I guess. So it's and I think we forgot that going into that race.
Yeah, you talked about the bike setup needing to be a lot different. The big thing that I was hearing was tires, but how that impacted a lot of other things too with getting those bigger tires fit on the machine. So, can you tell us a little bit about those different bike setup changes?
Yeah, so like definitely needed like the more sand setup tires and bigger tires. Like we're accustomed to using 20-inch fronts and 18-inch rears, where we had to be running 23-inch rears and 20 maybe 24-inch fronts. So it's a big change. And once you start doing that stuff, you got to change your suspension as well, because otherwise you're just starting to lose travel in the shock, and you need more travel. So um, and then like ride height was a big thing where we need to get off the ground as far like 2 inches more than what we were. So every time I would come over, I would go from one bump to the other. My frame's hitting before my suspension, so it was like a boxing match out there with the machine.
Yeah. Being married to a suspension tech myself, I get to hear about how important suspension is, for the overall ride. So I can definitely see that being a huge factor with those different tires and that different terrain.
Yeah, definitely.
What lessons have you taken away? Because when you go over to Quadcross of Nations, you're part of a team in what's usually an individual sport. So how did that kind of change the dynamics? It's not just what you're doing, it's what the team is doing.
Yeah, I feel like I really adjusted to that really well because I come from like playing football and um, that's a team sport. You need every guy on their team doing their job and for it all to work correctly. And um, I feel like it's difficult because you're so used to, lining up for yourself, lining up for your team, your sponsors, and going out there and doing your best. And I feel like I'm a good team player, and I've been trying to like really keep working to teach like the riders that have come for and rode for Team USA that you got to do what's best for the team and doing the right things for us to come home in one piece and for us to come home, winning and not making an individual where you risk too much and you could hurt yourself or hurt the team doing that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What is the vibe like in the pits over there? This is a huge international event. So, what's that atmosphere like?
It's nothing like here in the States, just being it's like that competitive, mix of like the pride of each country and everybody just it doesn't matter if their country's good or bad, like they will go down with their team, ride the wave of the good and the bad, and they're so excited to see us there too because they get to see us, on the social media and YouTube and stuff like that, and it's so rare for them to see us in live action. And the Netherlands this year was off the hook with how many people were there and the reaction from the fans, and especially that being like my last nations, it was pretty special for how many people came up to me and said it's been amazing and it's been an awesome ride and seeing you be here. So it's really cool in that aspect, and us as a team we get to enjoy that. And it's I had a mechanic this year that used to work for me back in like 2013, 14, and 15, and I had him come back and mechanic for me because he's never been to a nations, and it was just a perfect moment because he deserved to be there as much as anybody else, and that event wasn't going on back then when he was mechanicking, and he was so honored to be a part of the team and be there and experience it. It was nothing like he had ever experienced.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Do you guys, as the team or even individually, get to take some time before or after racing to kind of check out the countries that you guys are racing in?
Yeah, so this year we went early. We went a week early, and we took the family and enjoyed. We flew into Belgium and into Brussels and toured around Belgium. We really found a town that we really enjoyed. It's called Bruges, and that's we just had the perfect relaxing time, good time with the family, and toured around and see new places because I'm not a big fan of just going over there and coming back. Like last year I did that. I did a solo because I wasn't part of the riders team because of my injury. So I just went over there and went over there and helped the team and came back home. So it was kind of felt weird doing that, but and every year that we've done it, we with the family, we always stay for at least a week or more.
Yeah,
After, yeah.
cool. As part of your pro career, sponsorship is a big part of that. So, how did you approach and build and maintain those sponsorships throughout the years?
Yeah, I mean, I've been able to actually keep a lot of sponsors that I've had for. I mean, I got onto the Wienen Motorsports Yamaha program in 2012, and I believe that I maybe changed like maybe four sponsors from 2012 to 25. So pretty proud of that, and just had a good group. People that I've known for 15 plus years, and I'm a strong believer in their product, and they're believers in me. and that goes a long way when both parties are on the same page and they want the best out of each other, and just goes a long way that way, the trust. And so I'm really proud of, my group that I have behind me, and they're going to continue to support me in, the next chapter of what I want to do. I want to keep doing some fun events, here and there, and just ride for fun and maybe compete at a couple places. And but the AMA Pro racing, that ship sailed for me, and just enjoy riding.
Yeah, I feel like that's something not all racers maybe understand, that it's way easier. I don't know if it's easy necessarily, but the goal is to be able to keep sponsors year after year. You don't want to have to keep going out and finding new ones. That's a lot more challenging than just building those relationships and maintaining those relationships. And they
So
definitely do take some maintaining too. It's not a request to get money or parts or products, and then you just see them again next year when it's time to ask for that stuff again. There's a lot more that goes into it throughout the year, right?
yeah, yeah, for sure. And like people, certain companies want certain things, and luckily, with the people that I work with, they're very into racing, and they wanna see you on the track and performing and doing well. And the nice thing is, like, whether it's a good day or a bad day, they still reach out. They still check in with me, and I really enjoy that because it's just not you're not just a figure to them, or a prop, I guess. So it's something more, and I enjoy doing like the one-off things that companies like to do to bring some attention to their product, or like have me like do some social media stuff with them. So it's a good partnership.
Since it is kind of the thick of what I call sponsorship season this fall, kind of heading into the next calendar year, what advice would you give to riders that are trying to stand out to potential sponsors today?
I would say, like, a lot of people love to know what you're doing. Like, never go short on the amount of, like, whether information you can give them, or calling them, race results, photos, videos. Like, try not to go short on those, because they like to know what you're doing, and a fresh, something fresh every couple weeks. Like, they people remember you, and always be polite, and be appreciative of what people do for you, because um a lot of these sponsors, like, they don't necessarily have to do it, but it's nice for them to give back, and give back to the sport. And one day you could be in my shoes, and living the dream, I guess you'd say, and be able to do this for a living, and there's nothing like it. I just know I've been able to do something that's really special, that there's not many people in the world get to live out their dream and do their dream job, and just have that freedom.
What is something that people may not realize about the business side of racing? Because, of course, yes, you love to race and it's a lot of people's hobbies, but this is your career. And there's definitely a business aspect
Yeah.
and management portion that goes in behind the scenes.
Yeah, it's like you said, like, this time of year is when you're putting on your cap to go to work and try and get supporters behind you. And it is a business. You got to know what you're worth, and your self-worth. And um, I feel like you get the results, like, you have some leverage, with these companies. And um, it's not the greatest of time right now. Like, it is tough. It is very tough. And I think the biggest thing is, like, don't ask for too much that you drive people away. You got to build the foundation with these companies, and just know that you go out there and do your job well, and you support and represent these companies, and you represent yourself too, in a positive way, that you're going to grow to where you want to be. And it's just part of it. It's a building process.
Do you feel like racers and fans and really everybody involved in the sport, do they have a responsibility to help promote ATV racing as a whole? And if so, like, what should they be doing?
I think just there's so much negativity out there that it might be not like, there might be things about ATV racing that's not the greatest, but, like, you got to also maybe try to fix those things, and not try to just point them out. Just have maybe have ideas to try and work together. And it'd be nice to hear more positive things than the
Mm.
negatives. And I think that today's day and age, like you hear a lot more negatives than the good things. And I'm a positive person, so I always try to bring out the positives in anything, and try to solve the negatives and try to be better with that. And I think sticking together and being one, and um, be a person that your 10-year-old self would look back and want to be happy about.
Oh, if you could give advice to yourself as a rookie, like looking back, what would be the best advice that you wish you would have gotten or that you would give somebody else starting out now?
Um, I think being a rookie, like in the professional ranks, like you're gonna get, you're gonna get knocked down, you're gonna get pushed around, and it's gonna be tough. And I think, I think I just kind of went at it like blindly, not really caring about what happened. Maybe I didn't get the results that I wanted. I always kind of kept go back to work and get ready and try to be better the next. And I see a lot of riders these days that are, riding like year one, year two, and they're like, like it's so hard, it's so difficult, because they're like in the amateur ranks, they're used to winning, and to go from winning to getting your teeth kicked in every weekend is very, very difficult. And staying the course, and giving it your all. And I think that's probably the advice that I would stand with. I when I was younger, like, I mean, we we partied a lot, we had fun, and now it's more of a business. You're going to sleep early, and so maybe not staying out late and doing all the wild stuff that I did when I was a rookie. So I think that'd be probably the advice that I would give.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've definitely seen it, like you said, when the racers are so used to winning in the amateur ranks, they're at the top, they are really confident. And then that first season of pro racing, it is difficult. It is definitely a mind game for them.
Yeah.
So to kind of get beyond that and just keep putting in the work, I think is really important.
Yeah, yeah, it's mental. I mean, you gotta get that spark somewhere and get one of those motos that goes your way, and you give it everything you got, and you rise up to what your true potential is. Yeah.
Yeah. So, kind of putting a bow on the end of this season, what kind of legacy do you hope that you've left for this next generation of ATV racers?
Um, I just knowing that you can come from anywhere, and do well at, as long as you put your hard work in and your dedication, that it can be you. You could be the next. And I think that I had a friend of mine that he was actually, his name is Tommy Hoffmaster. Grew up about 45 minutes away from me, and when I was growing up, I saw him having success at a pro level, and I'm like, like it can happen to him, it can happen to me. So I put in the effort, and I just know that I just want to be the guy that people like remember as the hard worker, and you know kind of help build his own program with his own hands, and didn't come from a whole lot, that you put in the work. And I'm going to try and pass that on to a couple of riders that I work with now, and hopefully they can carry the torch of that.
You announced earlier that even though you are going to retire from pro racing, you're going to stay connected to the sport through coaching, parts, and builds. So, are you going to take a little time off first, or are you just going to keep on rolling?
Yeah, I'd like to take a little time off like this fall, and still ride a little bit and have some fun with some friends. But you know, the things that I have planned was like be working closely with like Max Lindquist, and a couple other riders that I coach as well, and try to try to keep them going. And then also, like, you can't take too much time off, because the season comes very quickly, when it does come up. And but definitely the next month I'll take it easy. My son started playing football, and I'm gonna enjoy that and help coach a little bit with that, and just spend that family time, because I know when race season starts, it's gonna be kind of wide open again a little bit.
So, outside of racing, are there some hobbies or passions that you're excited to maybe get to explore or spend more time on that have maybe been put on the back burner for all these years?
Yeah, yeah. I wanna one of the big things that like I want to do is build an old truck with my dad, and I think I'll be like kind of the forefront of that. My dad just kind of wants it. He's talked about it a few times, but I'm gonna be the one to kind of go out and find the truck and bring it home and do all that, and then we'll start tinkering on it together and just have that father son time that we don't always get a ton of that, but he goes all like he's probably gone to 80-90% of my races throughout my career. So he's given so much to me, and it'd be a good thing for me to give back to him and have that father son time, and then enjoy golf. I know I my son's picking up some golf a little bit here, so we'll go out and play a little bit of golf together. And I love football, so we're gonna go to some football games and stuff. Just enjoy that time.
Are you going to get to spend more time at home, or do you plan on going, even though you won't be racing, to the races next year? Because I guess in my mind, I assumed you were just going to be at home chilling, but I don't know. Maybe you're going to still be there.
Yeah, I'll still go to some events. I definitely don't want to be at all of them, that's for sure. It is difficult for me to go to the races and watch, but I think it'll be different where I'm really connected with my riders there and kind of just living that through them and just enjoying those moments and seeing their success. But I could see myself going to like half the events next year and being there, but. Um, I definitely want to have some more home time and be more of a father than anything really.
I think you kind of have to ease into not going to all the races because, like you, my husband has been following that circuit and at every single race, probably for almost as long as you have, probably
Yeah.
closing on 20 years because he's your age. And
Yep.
so I love the alone time sometimes when he goes away, right? And he's
Mhm.
gone for 10, basically 10 weeks a year at least by the time you headed the track and you're back home. But every year he says he's going to go to less and he still continues to go to all of them. And then he'll talk about not going one year. I'm like, I'm not sure I'm ready for that, for you to be home like 10 more weeks in the year.
Yeah.
So I feel like you kind of got to ease into it.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that'll help me as well, like my mental state and not just cutting it off and being done. And I think that'd be pretty difficult. And I've had some friends that have done that, and I think he's like they said they needed to do that to actually get away from the sport to be like be complete, I guess, because otherwise they want to ride and race, themselves even more. But um, I have some friends that kind of joke around with my wife that they're like, yeah, like I'm gonna be the one to help Chad out and keep the keep the lifestyle at home good where you're not bothering your wife too much. So I'm definitely gonna have some fun things to do with some friends that I didn't have much opportunity to do until I did end my career.
Perfect. Kind of to close it out, looking back, what are you most proud of across your career?
I am probably most proud of just being able to race in an era that I think is the all-time era with racing as some of the greats of like Doug Gus, Tim Farr, Jeremiah Jones, just so many great riders of that era, John Natale, Joe Bird, Keith Little, and I looked up to those riders when I was younger, and I got to race with them and went through like the best years of ATV racing with the factories, and I'm most proud of that. I think just being a part of that era.
That's awesome. Tell people where they can connect with you on social media. I'm sure people listening to this probably already follow you, but in case we have any new followers, let them know where they can connect with you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm on most active on Instagram, Facebook. Not that much, but I still have a page there to reach out and that people reach out to me and I talk with them there. But yeah, that's probably the easiest way. And through our business, Wienen Motorsports, .com. That's usually easy connected to me as well.
Well, thank you for joining me to talk about your legendary career, and I hope you get a little bit of a break and some time to relax before you dive back into it. But thanks to everybody for tuning in to Momentum. This has been a production of High Gear Success. If you want to connect or recommend a guest, head to MomentumMotorsportsPodcast.com. Until next time, keep the momentum rolling.